London City, with its bright lights and towering skyline. It's an intricate tapestry of dreams and aspirations. It is a place where stories entwine and lives simply collide. It's a place where every turn that you make, there is a face that you meet with a story to tell. See, if walls could talk, I wonder what they would say. And while some stories may remain buried, it is the stories that manage to break free that leave an irreversible mark on our collective consciousness. They're the ones that capture the true spirit of the city that thrives on the pursuit of dreams. Our city, London City.
Hi, you're all. Mem here and Ria behind the camera. Do I say my daughter? Yeah? Do I say my daughter? We're a duo. I've got my other daughter on the other side here, but listen, we are in Deptford. And the reason why we're in Deptford is because it plays a big part in the book, all right? It was, I'm not going to get too deep into that, but first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for the support, the response, the comments for our first series, the Bermondsey one. We've done a 3-part documentary and I think we've done really, really well. And it encourages us to do more. So if you haven't seen the Bermondsey one, please go back to our first videos that we uploaded or start from the beginning, and it gives you an insight of the rise and fall of Rami, okay? It's a phenomenal documentary that we've done. But listen, we're here in Deptford, and there's a reason why we're in Deptford, okay? Because 27 years ago, we arrived here, and it was after the Bermondsey. So the story continues, okay? So, I'm gonna try to give you the insight of bits of Bermondsey, Deptford, sorry. Deptford, it's a hard one for me, all right? Because this is where my life a little bit took off. Not always in the right place, but where do I start? All right, I'm gonna tell you where I start. Follow me, all right? Coming to Deptford was a big changing point for us. But before I get too deep into Deptford, you got to remember Deptford itself played a big part in the book. The book, I'll always refer back to the book because this is what it's all about. You know, the only way we knew this novel. So by me bringing you back to these places is important because when you read it, you can identify and feel the places. You know, so if I talk about Bermondsey, Spa Road or whatever, you know exactly where we are. So me bringing you back to Deptford now, you can feel it. But you got to remember Deptford, I would say, is a little bit of a second part of my mum and dad's life because being back in Bermondsey, as much as they made money, they lost their money as well and they had to start all over again. And that started 27 years ago when an opportunity came. So even though back then they had a cafe, and they done well, an opportunity again arose. I was only 19 at the time. Remember, time had passed when I was showing you these images and everything like that. And the opportunity that come was a really good opportunity. They weren't going to let it down. So this is where we imprinted ourselves in Deptford 27 years ago when you was born, Ree, because it was an opportunity. Yeah, an opportunity that they couldn't let down. And that opportunity was that place right there, Rumbling Tums. See it? Yeah, and it was another cafe, another great chapter that begun. And that's why it's important for me to bring you here and tell you how, I wouldn't call it the rise and the fall and then you get back up, but you're gonna be able to feel it. That was an amazing chapter here, an amazing experience. I'm going to tell you where we are. This is Brook Mill Road and we're on the junction of the A2, possibly one of the busiest roads in central London. This place don't sleep. That cafe there initially was called the New Oxford. It's always been a cafe. Then it turned into an Indian restaurant, just like the one down in Bermondsey when I think about it. Then we took over it and we called it Lucy's Doorstep Cafe. Lucy's, because it took after my mum's name. That's what her English name was. And then we changed it over to Rumbling Tums. And we've had a phenomenal time in there. But I'm going to explain to you about Deptford a little bit before we get too deep into everything. But if you just look around, you can see how things have just changed around here, just like Bermondsey. But Rumbling Tums is where it all started for me as well. You got to remember 27 years ago when we took this opportunity over, it was mum and dad's start again. I could see they had a glimmer of hope again. Because you got to remember, when they lost everything, it broke my dad. It broke me mum. And having this, it was just a glimmer of hope. And you got to remember as well, Ria, I just had you, me and your mum. So you was born and my mum and dad were like, we've got to give these kids a bit of an opportunity. But what I'm going to do is I'm not going to get too deep into this right now. I want to show you Deptford a little bit and how wonderful Deptford is. But Rumbling Tums was the start of a time I fucking loved. As I drag you away from Rumbling Tums, the calf, I'm going to get back into that. I'm not going to get too deep into it. I just want to show you, what Deptford is about, all right? So remember, that's Brookmill Road. This is the A2, all right? This is, like I said before, possibly the busiest road in South East London. It never sleeps, this place, and it never has. I can remember us coming down here 27 years ago. It didn't look like how it was. The college across the road, that weren't there. They were just finishing it off. That place there, which should be called the Scotch House, I believe. It was the Scotch House. And it was a big warehouse and it just been knocked down. But Deptford Broadway is possibly one of the widest parts of Deptford. I'm not going to go too deep into the history of Deptford because this is not what the video is about. But I want to just give you a little bit of an insight into it. When we came here, we used to have the Odeon on the corner there. I remember as a kid always driving past and seeing it there. The Odeon itself was an amazing building. The architecture of it was mind-blowing. And for that not to be here today and actually to look at them buildings now and look how dry they are, part of Deptford's gone, that history. But I just look around and I'm trying to picture myself back in the day when I first come here. And like I'll tell you now, like apart from like the cinema, this whole place used to be buzzing, full of businesses. We used to have a club there. It started off as Cheeks, Champs, and then ended up as Futures. And it was run by a fella called Harry Haywood. And he was an amazing fella. And he's passed away now, God rest his soul. And he played a big part in the community. There's a story I want to tell you about him. Bloody hell, the place is on fire today. Someone's in trouble. This story, I can remember, we must have been about 20 years old, just opened up the cafe. I was full of like beans and ahead of myself. I thought I was it. And I can remember Harry Haywood, he had a member of staff in there. And he came up to me and said, do you want to buy a freezer? I got a freezer for sale. And Dad, my old man back in the cafe, we needed one. And I can remember I grabbed this freezer, grabbed it over and filled it up with stock. Started to work, freezed up. Following day, we've come back and the freezer's off. All the stock is defrosted. We lost a load of money, but my old man was kicking off. Where the hell did you buy this freezer from? So I'm steaming, ain't I now? So I've gone over to the club, knocked on the door. Harry's opened the door. Harry, where's that fella? He's in the back. I've gone down there and I've gone into one, ain't I want my fucking money back. But as I'm fucking going into this fella, I'm screaming at him. Ah! Remember, I'm in a bloke's club here. And he's come up, he's grabbed me by my ears. I felt this thing behind my ears. I was like, oh, what the fuck is this? And he's literally lifted me up. This is Harry Haywood. He's lifted me up. He's turned me around and he's walked me out of the club and threw me out. And I can remember when he threw me out, he went to me, don't come in my fucking club and start ranting your mouth off. This is my gaff. Fuck off. And I fucking did. Half hour later, Harry Wood, he comes over to the cafe, my dad's place. He pays the old man, he goes, sorry about that, like, it weren't meant to happen, but... And they sat down, had a cup of tea and a bacon sandwich together. Just that's how it was. And I remember me, I'm a bit too big for my boots back then. I remember coming into Deptford, you can't be doing things like that. You got to remember, Deptford itself was full of hard-working people, just like Bermondsey. You know, they had some shady characters up here, and it was an amazing place, and you had to become part of that. And you got to remember, Bermondsey itself is only a neighbouring, it's only a neighbouring town. Is it a town? 5 minutes from here, 10 minutes from here. But yeah, this place was absolutely buzzing. I'm going to tell you one more story. These lights here were renowned. And whoever used to pass these lights back in the 80s would have always known they were terror lights. And the reason why is, come over here, I want to show you something. Look. Come over. Come. I don't want you to get knocked over, all right? So just follow me. Look at this building here, all right? It's called Meriton Mansions now. But back in the day, it was called Chesham House, all right? And Chesham House was renowned for housing. We call them dossers back in the day, but I hate using that word. It sounds so, I think it sounds disrespectful. But it used to have all like the old dockers, the alcoholics, the homeless, the people that needed housing. And a lot of them had drink problems. There was a certain time in the day where they had to kick them out. So you can imagine Deptford itself become renowned for all these dossers back in the day. They were everywhere. It was like Walking Dead. But these lights were called the terror lights. And I'm going to get comments on these and they're going to go, I remember that. I can remember we used to drive down from here and we used to go into Bermondsey. And we used to slow down further up there. There's a bus stop. And the reason why we used to slow down, because we didn't want to get caught at the red lights. Because here was always a bunch of these so-called dossers, alcoholics, that literally, they were like the living dead. They would be pounding on your car, knocking on the window, give us a pound, give us a pound. And everyone used to be petrified of it. Because you imagine an old lady or a lady driving a car and you get this. So everyone had this timing for these lights. But they always never used to stop here because of that. But listen, I'm going to take you up here, all right? Because I've got so much to show you. Because Deptford itself is, like I said, you know, Bermondsey was the heyday for my dad. You know, my mum, how they started off in their business. Deptford is how it started off for me. Because the book itself, as much as it plays a big part in my dad's life, I'm in it quite a lot. And there's a reason why I'm in it. And the reason is because as you start to write, it starts to open up other doors in your mind and you start to reflect and understand other people's lives and your lives. And there's a reason why I wrote my life down. There's a big reason. But I will open up into that. I will open up into that. I don't want you to get knocked over, all right? It's the car coming in. You know, even though I talk about the cafe there, it's hard for me to say these things to you because I've got you behind. And even though I told you about Dede, I'm not ashamed to tell you about it, and I'm not ashamed to tell you about myself, but I'm talking to my daughter right now, okay? Because I'm opening up to Ria. So I'm going to be telling her about a side of my life that I'm not going to say I'm ashamed of or I'm super proud of, but it's not a side of my life that I'm going to hide. And that's the truth. So you remember being here, starting from young, 19 years old, and you get the taste of money. You know, I was desperate because I had other bits that were going on in my life apart from trying to make money. I had a psychological issue going on. You know, me going to the streets. You've got to remember, I could tell you a story in every single building here, every single building. And that is the gospel truth. And I'll tell you what I mean. So if you just follow me around here, all the way from this building here, the old snooker halls, the old furniture places, the old Barclays Bank, the old cinema, the old Scotch House, the Glazers, all the furniture places at the end there. You look at this amazing building at the top here, Seager Distillery, That was an old gin distillery back in the day that I used to fuck about in. Everywhere you look, there's a story. There used to be toilets in the middle of this place here, a tea stand. There was pubs everywhere here. So the place has changed phenomenal, and we saw it. So as much as I talk about Bermondsey being a light in our life, this was another place. And that's why it's important for me to bring you back here, because the book itself plays a big part here. And me at 19, this is where I started making my bit of money. Remember being at the cafe helping my mum out, a new beginning, only paid me so much, but I was hungry for money. And I can remember walking around with a black bag, a bag full of 501 Levi's, Fred Perry tops, Krug Berman watches. And I used to go to all these shops, try and sell them. And I would, and I start making my money. So the beginning here, trying to get off into the life that I'm gonna tell you about, I have to tell you how it seeded, how it begun. And me knowing that I can make money was an encouragement on its own. Because Deptford itself was paved with gold. I'm telling you, it was paved with gold. And I'm going to show you around it, all right? Deptford, which I love. I love Deptford. You got to remember, 27 years ago, I'm still here in Deptford. I ain't gone anywhere. I love it here. I've got my businesses here. And I will get into that later, but not quite yet. But this is about me trying to show you exactly timelines and how it progressed in my life, you know? So remember me being a little wheeler and a dealer here and there, selling me Levi's and me Krug Bermans. Things evolved for me a little bit, you know, because I can remember going down the market and nicking bits from a stall and selling it to another stall. I'm going to open up to you. And Ria, don't take it too personal about your dad, all right? So I can remember always going down Lewisham, nicking bits in warehouses. And remember, this whole place was full of warehouses, just like Bermondsey. And I was in and out of them. When I showed you that big tower, Seager Distillery, the money I earned out of that was phenomenal. But there was an amazing chapter in the book, The Only Way We Knew, called Gold Teeth. And I'd come across a little earner. And I feel like this earner itself was unique. Disrespectful? I don't know, when you read about it, you're gonna say to yourself, really? Did he really do that? Gold teeth, an amazing chapter. How I accumulated a load of gold teeth. How, where, when. I'm not gonna tell you because it's down to you to read the book. But I used to shift them to a fella who used to own one of these shops along here. I'm not gonna tell you what shop. But he was an amazing guy. And this is what I mean about Deptford. Deptford itself was full of shady characters. Wheelers and dealers, everyone hungry, wanting to make money. Everyone, all ages, young, medium, old, and they never gave up, never gave up. And that's why you become part of it. This is what Deptford was about. And this is why I believe now when I look back at my dad, what he was like in Bermondsey and how we got involved. It's a bit like I say, read the book. How we sort of went up the ladder, how I went up the ladder. You don't want to do it, you just do it. You don't want to become a thief, you just take. You don't want to scam someone, you realise you've done it after. Money makes you do things you don't realise only until you look back, and this is what I've done now. Writing this book and looking back, you start marking yourself and realising that, is that what I did? Is that what I got up to? Shit, I never realised that. I thought I was just earning money. Gold Teeth, an amazing chapter. You're going to love it because I believe possibly it's been done before, but I made stack loads of fucking money from it. Here, back in the day, mate, this used to be a lock in here. Resolution Way, mate. A part of me that I haven't let you know, I haven't got into that deep. Oh, I can't explain it.